I'm writing this article right now, and I just have to say, I went ahead and watched the Lecrae video. There were a couple of things that came up for me that are really difficult. Actually, I think what it is like, it's re-traumatizing. And that's not something really people can understand until they've dealt with and like gotten out of religious trauma. So I don't know how much I'm gonna push through for y'all, and I'm okay if people think it's conviction, but there are a couple of things that I was able to get through. I'm about 20 minutes in. A couple of things. So the argument is that there needs to be an internal identity shift, right? Like that needs to take place. And so the kind of, the theological foundations of this conversation are based in depravity and based in a need for an internal change, and that change can only happen when, he says, you apply the blood of Jesus to your heart. And so I think what this does is it frees a lot of us who have moved away from thinking about atonement in these ways and thinking about the purpose and the meaning of Jesus's life and death and resurrection, who have different frameworks for that. That's kind of helpful so that you know going in that, okay, these are the frameworks that they have around the heart and about Jesus and about the self. And so when those are the frameworks that you have, the conversation is put into context. That means that now everything that they talk about in this interview is framed by that belief, okay? So then that helps us hold space for what they're talking about. The guy he's interviewing says something like, we're in revival, which again is kind of like, I don't know. There is no defining of terms in terms of what we mean by revival, especially now. Like, I don't know how anybody would look at the world right now and say that we're in revival. Because revival was always political, and it was always around returning to God's vision for the poor and the marginalized. So I'm kind of like, I don't know where the construct for revival is coming from. But again, I can hold space for it because I know what their foundational epistemology is. And epistemology has to do with like the way of knowing and how we orient ourselves and how we ascertain truth. And so the truth for him is that God has to clean your heart and clean you up first. And so if that's the case, then it makes sense for why things like queerness or anything else fall into a certain category of wrestling and negotiation of identity. So we can give it a break, right? Like you can give it a break and go, these are the frameworks they're working with, and this is why they're coming to these conclusions. And I don't want to repeat the paternalism of saying, well, they're wrong and they need to do it this way, because then we would just be repeating the things that we got free from. There's a sense in which we can hold space, but if we've moved on from these frameworks, they don't have to be threatening to us, because the conversations are happening within that framework. Anyway, I hope that's helpful. I don't know how far I can push through. I'm going to try, because I'm going to write a long form response to it, and address some other things, not really Lecrae, but just address some of the things around these frameworks that I think we should be thinking about. I wanted to add, like, if you're a person who is still kind of wrestling with some of these constructs, I wrote this book. It's by Joshua Jipp, and it's called Saved by Faith and Hospitality. So what I love about the book is that he does a great job of outlining like 3 main characteristics, and they are greed, xenophobia, and tribalism. A really great just kind of entry text into thinking about sin differently, if you're open to that.